Hello, welcome to Rebel Base, IGN's weekly Star Wars show.
For a long while, there's been rumours flying about that Daisy Ridley's character Rey is the daughter of Han Solo and Princess Leia.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do today is go through all that evidence and make some shaky inferences and some shaky conclusions.
Let's start with the most recent thing then. So Daisy Ridley and Kathleen Kennedy were on Japanese TV, just doing some press for episode 7, little films coming out, and they were asked a bunch of questions about who Rey is going to be and what is going to happen with it. And Kathleen Kennedy, they both look really cheeky. Like, we'll have some of the footage up, but they both look really cheeky.
The first bullet point on this running order is both really cheeky.
I did the running order today. But yeah, so Kathleen Kennedy said really interesting stuff. She said, "Family is very important inside the Star Wars movies. I was taken with Daisy talking about her family." So this is all the time, like, she was auditioning and stuff. She really liked that. "We began to realise that many of the things about Daisy are the things that are inside the character of Rey." So talking about family and how family is important. And obviously, you have to, if you take that and take all the sort of rumours surrounding it, like that is, I mean, why would they know the rumours are there? Because then they're asked about it. And Daisy really says, "I'm not sure how much I can say. I guess because I have said it, that I am a solitary character. That's how I begin. That is probably a big clue as to what it is." And then they both laugh.
Yeah.
So like character.
Solitary.
Exactly.
But also, by saying that I am a solitary character that begins, in the middle of a desert planet. Yeah, we know it's not Tatooine.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a parallel being drawn there with Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we're going with Han Solo being her father, that still works because she is a Skywalker via Leia's line.
Yeah.
Also, the way she's dressing, very similar to Luke.
Yeah.
The fact that she's like amongst kind of salvaged items.
Well, that's what I think. I think maybe she's been placed in the care of someone on this planet, away from her mother and father, just because they don't want her to sort of get into trouble or anything like that.
Yeah, I just think
Maybe.
Star Wars is populated by people who don't want to raise their kids. And they wonder.
Lazy
wonder
people.
why. So what are they playing out there? But I think it's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
That there'll be some kind of family connections that we don't know about. And what we're kind of going through is that we think Rey's probably the best bet.
Definitely.
Because there's other candidates. Obviously, there's Finn.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There's Kylo Ren even.
Yeah.
But we're really pursuing the Rey one here, and I think these comments in particular are really strong.
Right. So what other evidence have we got then?
So the other evidence. This is
what do we say, by the way?
Exhibit B.
Yeah.
Is the first cast photo that they announced. Obviously, now very iconic picture of the whole cast assembled in London. I think it was in London.
Yeah.
And you've got JJ there. You've got people like Lawrence Kasdan, all the original cast members that are in the movie.
It's an amazing photo. Yeah.
And the first time we see people like Serkis, Domhnall Gleeson, Adam Driver, and Daisy's character, she's sat in between
Han and Leia.
Yeah. And obviously,
and if you were their daughter, that's where you'd be sitting, in between them.
They wouldn't let them wander off. We just put her on a planet.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a cool composition.
Yeah.
But even back then, I remember people saying, "Why is she sat there? Is there some kind of?"
Because a lot of the young cast are sort of like
is it a little
arguing,
hint? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I mean, they're being quite cheeky with it, as in not just on Japanese TV, but I think maybe there's a lot of cheekiness going on, but maybe they're being quite cheeky with that as well.
Yeah, it's almost like if you were putting together, it's like, should I sit here? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's conclusive or definitive. I'm just saying it's a thing that happened over a year ago.
Well, this is my favourite bit then, right?
Okay.
So this is way back when it was announced she was first cast. So after this photo, the Daily Mirror, got hold of her dad, right, and asked her a bunch of questions, like actual journalism going on right here. Okay. So according to her dad, Daisy has a close relationship with Harrison Ford. She came home and said she'd had coffee with Harrison Ford, and he said, "Don't call me Mr. Ford, call me Harrison. He's a very sweet guy, though he looks terribly grumpy." She said he looks much better than he does in films, and he's a much nicer guy.
Yeah.
That's how you would talk about your on-screen father, if you ask me.
Yeah, and also Harrison Ford looks awful in movies. I wish I looked like Harrison Ford in movies.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
So from that, what can we infer? That she shares a lot of scenes with Harrison Ford?
I think so, yeah, because they just got on really well. No, but I think
love coffee.
Yeah. But I think you can sort of infer that they've had a lot of scenes together maybe, so they wanted to work through them, and the way you do that is off set, I suppose.
Yeah. Should we? So, what do you think about? So, let's put on ice the fact that Daisy Ridley. What do you think about any of the other options? So far, it seems like all the evidence, and I say all the evidence, I say these three things.
Exhibit A, B, and C. They're called exhibits, so they must be real.
are kind of pointing towards Rey being the child of Solo and Leia.
That's right.
But one thing I don't really understand is like, why would they hide her?
Because they don't want her to get into trouble and stuff like that. Like, you don't know what's happening. Maybe people are after Han and Leia, or something has happened, and there's been, a split.
I don't think any truer sentence has ever been uttered as,
What?
you don't know what's happening. It's true, we don't know what's happening. But also, I'm going to throw a curveball now.
Okay.
Which I believe is something Americans say.
Okay.
What if it isn't Rey? What if it's Kylo Ren?
That is Han and Leia's offspring.
Yeah. Additional curveball, what if they're twins?
Ah, see? I'm up for that.
Yeah, I'm just making stuff up now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's twins in their, in their genealogy, so there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't
But do you okay, so bring this back to like, if they're planning on doing this, you can't go into a film knowing it's Star Wars with what's happened with the previous film, that this isn't going to be scrutinised to hell, which is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Is it a bit obvious to have a Solo Skywalker kid, do you think? Because obviously it was a thing in the expanded universe. Is it just a bit
I think it's obvious, but it's satisfyingly obvious, I think. And I just think she doesn't look like... The thing that I like about it is all the shots we've seen of her and everything that we've seen, it's not like, Phantom Menace. She's not a kid. She's not learning. She's a badass from the start, and I really, really like that. Like this sort of saber that she's got. So this is another bit of digging I found. Her staff, her bow staff skills. She's been trained by a Game of Thrones stunt fighter, and her stunt double is a girl called Chloe Bruce. If you Google Chloe Bruce, you find her show reel, and her show reel is basically her being amazing with a bow staff.
And there's something like she's been doing training in Japanese like art, something like bojutsu.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like which is I watched some of the choreography in like using bojutsu.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. It's slightly different. It's using the whole kind of length of the rod, so it's almost like you've got that, and then possibly even with a lightsaber attached at the end, and kind of manipulating the staff in ways that manipulates the sword at the end, but keeps you really far away from your body.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unlike anything we've seen before with involving a lightsaber.
Yeah, I really like that, and I think that's one of the main things that I like. I don't mind if she ends up being, a daughter of Solo, but I just like the fact that she's a badass from the start.
Cool. So those are exhibits A, B, and C. Do you think Rey is Han and Leia's daughter? If so, write to us, rebelbase@ign.com. We'd love to hear your theories.
It's time for another edition of Force Feedback. I know you really love that name.
Well, we've gone with it now. So
we've gone with it a couple of weeks, yeah. So this is from Morten Olsen from Denmark, who says, "Hello Rebel Base, I have a question. This might be a bit of a sissy/Twilight question, but in all 6 Star Wars movies, there has been a love story. I haven't seen any speculation online suggesting that what the love story could be in movie number 7, so I was wondering what it might be. Maybe it is between Rey and Finn, or maybe between Rey and Poe Dameron. Maybe there isn't one, or maybe it is between some characters we don't even know yet. Please let me know what you think." So that's something we've never discussed, actually, is whether or not there's a love interest. I mean, my money would be on Rey and Finn, because it seems like that's more a typical thing, because it seems like at the beginning of their relationship, this is from tiny bits of things, but it seems like at the beginning of the relationship, they're not that keen on each other, but then he sort of reluctantly takes her hand, and that has all the sort of beginnings of a little romance, I think.
Those are the seeds. I can't not look at pictures of Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron outside of like a X-Wing and not feel something move. He looks good. Come on,
he does look really good.
There's
He's
something
a
about
beautiful
him,
man.
And obviously there's lots of kind of echoes to the original trilogy, and they're tapping into the magic. It's what we keep saying on the show.
Yeah.
And you don't want to kind of match characters like for like,
no,
because
of course,
they're too sophisticated for that.
Yeah.
But you do get slight Han Solo vibes, and the fact that he's saying I'm the best pilot in the galaxy, it's almost trying to match him for kind of that kind of like machismo sort of thing.
Maybe he's Han's son, and they don't even know, and then they meet, and then they kiss, and then later on finds out they're related.
And that's episode 9.
There you go, done. What have you got?
Sean's written in, and so last week we were talking about people who could possibly direct episode 9. You want to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's got 2 suggestions, which I think we actually mentioned one of these as well. So his first suggestion on who should direct it is Doug Liman.
Oh, cool.
He's already made one great sci-fi film, which is Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And is incredibly versatile director who can direct comedy, swingers, suspense, The Bourne Identity, action movies, Jumper, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and mixed genre films such as Go with Aplomb. I'm surprised his name doesn't come up more in directorial conversations, honestly.
Yeah, that's a really good point,
eclectic.
actually. Yeah, because I mean, everyone said that Edge of Tomorrow is one of the best sci-fi films from last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, his name doesn't come up a lot in sort of conversations.
I wonder
That's
if he's
odd,
like.
isn't it?
I wonder if, like, almost his career, just looking at it, he's like kind of jack of all trades. I know that's a simplification, but he's just good and he's a really safe bet.
I guess so.
Rather than ever kind of breaking out into this huge name. Although I think last we heard of him, he was attached to the Splinter Cell movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Next up is Shane Black.
This is one that we actually mentioned but didn't make it into the show because I think we were saving him for maybe like a show we're going to do on the directors for an anthology movie.
Yeah, so like we're going to do like 10 pitches for Star Wars movies that will never be made. And he says Shane Black, though Iron Man 3 was controversial for some, I think the controversy is more about the choices made with the Mandarin than anything. Shane Black proved with Iron Man 3 and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang that he was not only a great writer of action films, dialogue and character moments, but a great filmmaker of action sequences as well.
Yeah, I genuinely think Iron Man 3 is better than the first Avengers film. Actually, it's better than the second Avengers film as well.
I think it's a better film. We'll take loads of heat on that because there's something about Iron Man 3 that I think really gets under people's skin.
Why?
It's really divisive. Like, anytime we ever mention Iron Man 3 on site, people have really strong opinions on it.
It's one of the best Marvel movies ever made.
Also,
I think it's amazing. It's so much fun.
Not to go on a slight tangent, but people celebrate Winter Soldier for like, oh, it's like a Cold War thriller and stuff like that, which they kind of praise the fact that it taps into another film genre. Iron Man 3 is a buddy cop movie. It's brilliant, and it's set at Christmas. And at the end, when him and Rhodey are teaming up, and they're not even in suits.
It's straight Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, it's the new Lethal Weapon.
I don't understand that. Like, I don't. This is all new to me. I thought Iron Man 3, everyone. I can't believe that. It's really upset me. That is. Guys, wise up. Iron Man 3 is better than the Avengers. Fact.
And if you want to contact Gavin, you can reach him at...
Don't go on my Twitter. So anyway, so this is the last one, and this is a really cool one actually. It's from Matt Mickelson, who's a filmmaker from New York City.
Mads Mikkelsen?
Yeah, I know. He loves it. He loves the show. But he's written in to say that him and his kids have made a bunch of shorts called the Han Solo Chronicles, and we'll show the teaser in a second so you can have a look at it, but it's so good. So it's basically like an awesome dad with two awesome kids making awesome Star Wars fan films.
I wish my dad knew how to use After Effects.
We're in trouble.
They run power to three deflector shields. Yeah, they're gaining on us.
It's them. Blast them. Girls, get back to your ship. Run! I want that ship! Give me a regular report, please.
Hey, you shot first.
Well, yeah. But if your mother asks, I shot second.
Awesome, isn't it? How good is that? Well, if you've made any fan films or if you just want to write to us, let us know. rebelbase@ign.com. So we're going to focus now on something that Lawrence Kasdan, the screenwriter, said in his interview with Vanity Fair. So obviously Vanity Fair have been going Star Wars mad recently. They've been revealing all sorts of characters. There was a giant cover feature on it.
Yeah.
And part of that...
They didn't want to go with us.
No. We reached out to them, but we're not a magazine because we are the future, not the past. And and Lawrence Kasdan gave an interview, and right at the end of the interview they said, so obviously he was brought on, he wrote Empire Strikes Back, which, you know, one of my favorite characters in Empire Strikes Back. It's not Boba Fett, it's Lando Calrissian. I'm pointing at this guy. That's obviously not him. That's Leonard Calrissian, his cousin. But he's been brought back on to write episode 7. So people have gone, you know, you're well known for writing a little bit of Lando. Is he going to be in episode 7? He said he's absolutely not going to be in episode 7. But Lando, I don't think, is finished in any way, shape, or form. Which, for me, like, Lando is one of my favourite characters.
Why is he...
That really excites me.
Okay, let's jump on that. Why is he one of your favourite characters? Before we get on to what we want to see Lando do.
Because he has a lot... For a B character, he has, like, the coolest arc, I think. Like, he starts off, you meet this guy, and he's a little bit offish. He wants them out of his life, and then you realise that he's actually screwed them over. Because he's been forced to by Darth Vader. So he gives up Han, but then Darth Vader changes the deal, takes everyone, and he feels bad, and I really like that because you sort of dislike him because he's gone against Han, but then you see him sort of redeem himself so many times because of that. He just definitely feels bad. So he helps C-3PO, R2-D2, Chewie, and Leia escape. Then he helps him rescue Luke as well, and all because he feels bad about it. And he's just this sort of like B character, and he gets this awesome little sort of like redemption arc.
It's funny you should say that. So one of the Lando things we know is definitely happening. We'll
Yeah.
get onto some speculation in a minute, but one thing we know is happening.
Okay.
I think they announced it around the time of Star Wars Celebration. Marvel
Right.
said they're going to do a new Lando comic.
Yeah.
Comic just about
Look at
Lando,
that.
which is really cool. And they're really bringing in some A-list talent. They've got
Yeah.
Charles Soule, who you know from like Death of Wolverine and
Yeah.
She-Hulk, and Alex Maleev, who I know really well from doing Bendis' run on Daredevil.
Yeah.
And it's coming out in July. And Charles Soule is a huge Star Wars fan, and they asked him what was about Lando, and it kind of
Yeah.
echoes what you're saying. He says, what I like about him is he gets his hero's journey of his own in the three
Yeah.
movies. When we first see him in The Empire Strikes Back, he's not exactly a shining knight. He sells his friends out to the Empire. Now, it's all somewhat understandable, and he does his best to make things right, but still, he's no Luke Skywalker. By the end of Return of the Jedi, he's put it all behind him. He's finally picked a side, and you know what? Let's not forget this. He ends up destroying the second Death Star.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome. And then he goes, he condenses it all. He goes, I could have skipped all that explanation and give you a 2-word answer that would be equally true. Lando's cool.
He is very cool. Look at that. Look at him. He's just cool.
That's the rest of the show. Look at him.
Look at that.
Look at him.
Look at that. And look at him.
But Saul talks also about how, like, as an archetype, not
Yeah.
just using him, he's a bit like a gambler.
Okay.
He kind of has this, like, movable morality.
Yeah.
But still ultimately good.
Yeah.
And he's worth taking risks, which makes him a great character to write. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that Marvel series is going to be talking a bit about follow him he's lost the Falcon.
Right.
And it's pre-Empire, and
Okay.
he's on his own journey.
Right.
And he's got heist-like elements where he's
Yeah.
assembling a squad. So we definitely know the Marvel comic is happening. It's
Yeah.
coming out in July.
Well, it's interesting you should say Gambler, because his episode of Rebels, Idiots Array, is one of my favourite episodes, because you hear this voice and instantly you know who it is. Like, Billy D. Williams has got a really distinctive voice. And you hear this voice, you know it's him straight away. And you see him betting with the Rebels over a game of Sabacc, and that's set before A New Hope. So I really like the idea that they could go back and fill in, they're introducing him there, and they could go back and sort of fill him in a little bit.
Okay, so, new world of Star Wars that we exist in now,
Yeah.
post-Disney, everything's connected. I'm sure Lawrence Kasdan maybe is aware of the Marvel comics, but I doubt he's directly referring to Lando coming out in the comics.
Yeah.
And, we know there's anthology movies.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's scope for Lando to return in those movies.
Definitely.
Maybe, Rogue One, maybe his own movie, but that contradicts what you just say. Billy D. Williams has a really recognisable voice.
Yeah.
But he's going to be 80 years old soon, or he already is.
Yeah. He'll be 80 years old by the time episode 8 comes out.
Right, okay, so if we go back, do we get in a situation where we might have to, if these anthology movies want to tackle key periods
Yeah.
in the timeline and want to have some kind of, maybe not Luke, maybe
Yeah.
not Han, but kind of supporting characters, we're going to have to recast them.
Yes, that is true.
What do you think about that, Gav?
I mean, as long as they got someone cool to do it,
Yeah.
I have absolutely no problem with the recast of people. They're going to have to do it for anthology stuff. Like, I want young Han Solo to appear in the anthology movies. I want that to happen.
Do you really?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think it's quite fun, as long as the casting is good, and there's going to be fewer or whoever they
Because
cast.
obviously
anyway.
there's loads of characters they kind of can fudge it with, like
Yeah.
Boba Fett, for instance, because you just keep him in the suit and it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter and it maintains the illusion. But I think with certain characters, with the right casting, you could kind of go with.
Yeah, I think so. And I just think he's such a cool character, and even though Billy D. Williams does embody that character so well, I wouldn't have a problem as long as it was someone that I really liked.
Okay,
But
cool.
I mean, I love that. I mean, the fact that Lawrence Kasdan has said, and he's written, this is another thing that I was thinking. So the fact that he said that they're not finished with Lando in any way, shape, or form, could that mean? I know we're talking about a lot about people being related in this episode, but John Boyega is front and center. Just because he's black, I'm not saying that he has to be related to Lando, but it'd be very cool if he was, right?
Yeah, and I guess that it's supposed to be with legacies. I wonder how closely all these characters. Again, we were talking. Is it just a bit too cute to
Yes.
play the family relations card?
Yeah,
and maybe we're reading
constantly.
it in too much. But
Yeah.
it'd be a great kind of double bluff if everyone's expecting it to be like a Skywalker child, and
Yeah.
it actually, if they've got kind of plans out. I think if it was just taken alone,
Yeah.
and Lando was a big part in Episode 7, for a lot of people, it'd be like, where's that come from?
Yeah.
But if they have this bigger plan to like flesh out that character
Yeah.
elsewhere in Marvel Comics and possibly in an anthology movie, it
Yeah.
suddenly might make more sense.
Yeah, that definitely, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think you've hit the thing on the head with Alex Maleev said, Lando is cool, and there's not enough cool people in Star Wars, I don't think. Like, Luke's not a cool character, is he? Let's be honest.
Well, that's a bit harsh.
Well, no, but he's not a cool guy, is he?
He's got a robot arm. He's a Jedi. What do you want?
Well, it seems like we've hit a bit of a wall here, Daniel, so I'm going to wrap this thing up right now. Do you think Robot Luke is cool? Do you not? Do you think Lando's the coolest? I do. If you let us know, rebelbase@ign.com, or Daniel's going to cry, I think.
Unbelievable.